Hey guys, so welcome to today's AMA. This is Friday, October 14th, 2022. And as you can see here, we have a full lineup for the AMA. I'm going to go over several different questions. We're going to go over the updated roadmap. It's going to show the existing projects in their timelines, as well as some new and fun stuff that nobody even knows about that I've kind of hinted at that we're building behind the scenes. Let's see, we are going to also look at the September profits report and talk about that a little bit. We are going to briefly touch on the donation that we made to the James Project, and we're also going to talk about the zone giveaway that I'm doing, as well as a whole lot more. We have a lot on our plate, so let's get into it. All right, so the very first question is Aaron 10. Aaron 10 is asking, I'm wondering if I understand this correct from Showtime's AMA. Inside of the blue chip service, does the rewards compound or do they just sit and do nothing? And how often does the reward compound if they do? Is it once a month? So the answer is, if you don't ever claim, they'll just continue to compound and compound and compound and over and over and over. So if you don't claim, that's exactly what's going to happen. How often that happens, it will happen on a daily basis. So some days you'll be at a gain, some days will be flat, some days will be at a loss. So obviously anything that is at a gain will just automatically compound. And that's kind of the beauty of what I think the financial services can provide, at least one of them, is that if you don't do anything, it works for you, right? So you still have the wealth management firm that's trading and making that profit on the back end using your XETA token, that's the key part, but that it automatically compounds for you, so that honestly, like, the performance fee will be taken out monthly regardless of whether you withdraw or anything like that. But the fact that you literally don't have to go in there, you don't have to do anything until you want to actually pull your profits out, and it just compounds for you. That's the concept that has always been spoken about, where you need to make your money work for you when you're sleeping. That's exactly how it's done. So Aaron 10, I hope that answers your question. So DFI is asking a great question. How much history is behind the various capital funds do you think Gaxis is managing these in traditional finance? So I'm asking about their experience with the three specific vehicles, such as blue chip, private equity, and HFT. So many years. I know that's like a vague answer, but in their website that's being revamped, they've been doing this for many, many years in traditional finance. Specific equities is going to be a little bit difficult to actually state, like past performance history, because you gotta remember, like, different equities do become blue chips over time, right? Things like that. But the actual services have been for many years. So for example, I know in the blue chip report that we were showing at least 3 years. I know it's been much longer than that, but we were just showing overall 3 years. This is how they performed in the blue chip equities trading market, right? Whereas, for example, the high frequency trading actually uses 3 different algorithms: a low risk, a medium risk, and a high risk. And I can tell you the low risk for sure has 8 years of past performance history. And the higher the risk, the less performance history that there is, right? So when you look at 8 years on the low risk algorithm, that's 8 years that at least that algorithm has been in use, along with the console and all this other, all the technology behind it, with Gaxis being utilizing that. So as you climb up into medium risk and the high risk, things like this, the management firm might have 10, 15 years in performing high frequency trading, but the actual algorithms are considered higher risk because the algorithms themselves have not had long performance histories, right? So you have to look at algorithms and the software and all the artificial intelligence that's behind the wealth management firm. It's kind of a two-step sort of question and answer. But for instance, this is why I say that when you are looking at, and we're going to get to a question in a moment about this, trading bots, you want to start looking at not just the firm that's operating the algorithms, but you want to look at the algorithms themselves. Are they being tweaked on a daily basis? What kind of past performance history do they have? Have they been through uptrends and downtrends and flat markets and all this kind of stuff, right? But to answer your question, Gaxis has been doing this for at least a decade, right? The kind of more the primary question is, when it comes to some of the technologies, how seasoned are the technologies behind the wealth management company? Because it's just professionals that are utilizing different tactics and different strategies, and as strategies advance, how are they advancing with it, all those type of things. And I can tell you that just dealing with XETA, I know that Gaxis is tweaking and enhancing and changing things in order to squeeze out more and more profit, especially in these markets, because these markets are a little unique. So when you have, for example, big drop-offs in the currency pairs, you might lose initially, but as it becomes more volatile, you gain a lot more in the short run. Does that make sense? So you have like this initial loss, but then because it's so volatile, now you're going to make a tremendous amount over the next couple of weeks, if that makes sense. So it's tweaking strategies for the market, but it's also tweaking the strategies based on different strategies like HFT. You know, HFT's been around for a long time, but when high frequency trading first came out, it was difficult to set up. You had to have a lot of money. You had to have the right algorithms. You had to have the console to make the calls. You had all this type of stuff. So as the technology and as the actual strategies advance, you want to advance with it, especially as the market is fluctuating and changing. So the wealth management firm, well over a decade, the specific strategies change and the specific methods. This is just three. Blue chip, private equity, and HFT. There's a lot more ways to make money that Gaxis uses in the traditional markets than these. These are just the three that we happen to be using at the moment. And these are the three that are also put our money where our mouth is, we're offering back to you. So that's a little bit of a long answer, and it's not 100% specific, but I hope that answers your question for the most part. Thanks, DFI, for a great question. All right, so Bernie Nice, who's a wonderful member of our community, he asked, what can you tell about the NFT development idea? Is it related to HFT Lite? One of us, it was sort of tongue-in-cheek when I think Brad went in there and said HFT Lite. It was a tongue-in-cheek, half kidding sort of thing, but not fully kidding. You're going to see that in the roadmap later. You might have this question fully answered or partially answered. Remember, there's a lot that we're not unveiling just at the moment, but that is being worked on behind the scenes. There's a little bit that I'm going to unveil later in the updated roadmap that might answer this question for you. Yes, there is an NFT project in the works. Some people may say, why? What's the reason for an NFT? So in the passive income space, when you compare the community, just the size of the community, the size of the money that community has, and you set that next to the NFT community, I don't know, it's like setting a grain of sand next to a house, okay? It's like not even comparable, right? The amount of money and the sheer size of the NFT community is thousands of times bigger than the passive income space. It really is. So the idea is you have all these different communities. Nobody has really brought them together. I should use this, not this, but nobody's brought them together in a way where they can kind of feed off of each other and improve each other through like a singular sort of project. So the idea is, how do we bring both of these communities together where XETA wins, zone holders win, and the NFT community wins? What does that look like? How could you do that if you theoretically could pull that off? And is there a way to do that with the utility that we have? Because nobody has the utility we have. I would be bold enough to say that because it's a fact. So is it related to HFT Lite? Kind of, sort of, yeah. That was a tongue-in-cheek statement, but it is half true. I mean, for the most part. So anyway, I'm going to defer to later when the actual roadmap is up, and we'll discuss that a little bit more. But the NFT idea, I think you guys are going to like it when I show you the roadmap. And I'll show you that towards the end of the video, along with the profit report, and all will be after the questions are answered. But very nice. Thanks for the question. Really appreciate it. All right, so Mick has got a great question. He says, so does Gaxis hold a GRS, which is the global registered share, in the blue stock portfolio? So he's asking about the blue chip service, and we get a slice of the GDR, which is the global depository receipt. If it is a GDR, do we get a slice of which bank will be the counterpart? So no, the blue chip, I got to explain this. So you are not receiving the security, okay? You're not going to be able to come and say, hey, send me the blue chip equities, the securities to my Ameritrade account. That's not going to happen, right? What it is We are dealing with crypto as an intermediary, meaning you are purchasing zones, okay? You get access to these services by owning enough zones. You then use your XETA token to deposit into the service. What happens is, based on the US dollar value of your XETA token, that determines how much you are depositing into the service, US dollar equivalent, okay? That fiat US dollar equivalent value is sent to Gaxis to then trade and create a profit. What you get is the profit on the trade, minus a performance fee, of course. But you are getting that in the form of cryptocurrency. All you do is you send crypto and you receive crypto. That's it. So when they are trading in the blue chip, it's a trade back and forth. It's trading in and out of positions to make a profit. That's the forever goal with that service, is to create a profitability, so that you get that back in the form of USD coin, which is cryptocurrency. So you deposit with XETA, you receive USDC. You don't receive the security. Nobody's handing out securities. That's not what anybody's doing here. But Gaxis invests that for you in and out of positions, depending on the market, to earn a profit. So when you are asking the question, Mick, I think it's Mick. I'm probably saying it wrong. And when you're asking, do we get a slice of the GDR? No, just it's simply, here's crypto, go and invest it. It'd be no different than me handing somebody money and saying, go and invest this into the stock market and make me money back. That's all it is. Okay, so you deposit with XETA, you receive USD coin. On your end, it's always cryptocurrency. On the back end, it's a little bit more complicated. It's converted and invested and traded in and out of positions over a period of time to earn a profit, which you then get back in the form of USD coin. Great question though, but I hope that clears it up. Okay, Skibbity is asking a question. It's a very interesting question. If for some reason XETA didn't work out, but we were already in the financial services from Gaxis, do we then lose our position with them? The answer is no. The answer is no. There is, let me just phrase it like this. There is no such thing in my mind as XETA not working out. In other words, you know, I can't prove this. I think there's a lot of projects that start off and there was always like a plan B and C in case something doesn't work out. And obviously you have backup plans, but there's no plan B with XETA, just so you know. There is no plan B. I would say this, because I don't think about like, well, what if it doesn't work out? What do we do? Because there is no not working out. Like literally, you could tag xetacapital on Twitter and put hashtag no plan B. I'm serious. There is no plan B. But given the question in front of me, would you lose your position with them? No, you would not lose your position with them. So I'll kind of lay this out like this. And this is not like taking a shot at any project, but I will say this. A lot of projects, when they walk away, now some people say they rug, sometimes businesses, guys, just don't work out, okay? For whatever reason. They lacked the wrong people running it, they didn't manage their finances, they did all sorts of different things, okay? Sometimes it's a rug, sometimes it's just it didn't work out and it looks like a rug, okay? But I will say this, when they walk away, what is there to give their community? The reason they walk away and their community is holding the bag is because there's nothing to give them. There's no money, that they don't know how to make money. There's no utility, they don't have any utility. There's nothing to give you. So if they walk away, it's kind of like, well, they don't know what to give you, honestly, right? Because they mismanaged it or rugged it, whatever the case may be. There's nothing to say, hey, sorry this didn't work out, but here's something. There's nothing for them to do. They can't give you anything, right? There is no such thing as XETA not working out. Now, we might have an overall idea about how we see the evolution of XETA working out, right? That is being built behind the scenes, but it doesn't mean that it's not working out or it won't work out. I'll just say that, you know, if, big if, something were to happen, there's nothing stopping us from just saying, hey, we have utility. The utility doesn't go anywhere. Everybody can have access to all the services now. Have at it. Right? Now, that's not going to happen because nothing's going to happen to XETA. My point is, when you have something you can give something. When you are a project that doesn't have any utility and you don't know how to make money, when it doesn't work out, what do? There's nothing to do. Right now, I see the evolution of Xeta growing into something far bigger than what it is now. Far bigger than what it is now. Something that can link communities together, something that can provide real world change, all this type of stuff. But it's an evolutionary sort of process that Xeta has to grow into, right, over time, as we bring other communities in, as we grow the project, as we look at all these other avenues that Xeta can be. I think it's sort of a shame when you have a lot of these projects that people are like, well, throw a game in there, or, well, throw an NFT in there. But what does that look like? Like, how do you grow a project and link communities together? Because remember, the passive income space is a tiny, tiny, tiny sliver of crypto. NFT is a big piece, but it's still a sliver of crypto. How do you bring all these communities together, right? So that we don't have maximalism over here with NFTs. We have the passive income over here. We have the utility over here. Why don't you bring them all together and find a way for everybody to coexist in a way where everybody wins, right? There's, in other words, with these projects, has to be a far bigger vision than where it starts. Where it starts is like the conception phase, right? If you were to use, childbirth language, it's like the conception phase, right? We are conceiving an idea, but it doesn't stay there. It has to get bigger, and it has to grow, and it has to be something far bigger. Like somebody posted a question, what's the plan for world dominance? And that is the plan for world dominance. There is no such thing as starting a project and staying exactly where it starts and not growing and not being far bigger than we even imagined. So there's always a plan for world dominance. It's something that Xeta has to grow into over time. So that's a really long answer to the question, but to kind of be very specific, now if something did happen, which it won't, to answer your question, no, you would not lose your position with them. We would make sure that you guys are taken care of. Okay, so thanks for the great question. I hope that helps clear that up. Now here's a great question that Mr. Sinister 77 is asking. He says, here's an AMA question. I apologize if it's been touched on already. What makes this high frequency trading service better than if I go on my own and have bots do the trading for me with another company? Well, first of all, this is not a loaded question, but the answer is going to be a little bit lengthy. But I will say this. Everybody and their grandmother is going to start offering trading bots as a service now. And I called this weeks ago, months ago. So as soon as we came out with an HFT, all of a sudden everybody's trading bots, NFTs are trading bots, and my trading bot's better than your trading bot. And just in my experience, the moment that you see something being copied over and over and over again, you're going to have good, better, best, 80-20 rule. Always 80-20 rule, right? So you're going to have a very small percentage are actually going to do well. That's besides the point. But there's a very big difference between a trading bot and a high frequency trading service, okay? A high frequency trading service has to have an algorithm. That algorithm has to be improved over time. You can't just set it and forget it. It's a constant improvement, okay? There's people working on these algorithms constantly on a daily basis, okay? The console has to make the calls, and it has to make the calls in an efficient manner. That means you've got to have the computing power to run all of this, and it's high computing power. If you go and look at how a high frequency trading network is built, okay, we're talking direct metro LAN fiber connections, okay, what they call MANs. I don't know if they really call it MANs anymore, but direct connections so that these trades can be made in milliseconds, in and out in milliseconds, right? It's a very different thing than saying, well, I'm going to code a bot using, there's a service, I don't want to name it, but I'm going to code a bot, not even code it, I'm just going to use a template to build a bot based on some sort of trading service and then offer that as a trading bot, right? There's a very big difference between that and having access to a high frequency trading platform that costs millions to build. I mean, you're talking computing power, the algorithms, the console, the network connectivity, the licenses, and then you're talking about improving this constantly over time. So the difference would be, even if you had access to the high frequency trading platform, do you have access to the professionals running it? So one of the things is Gaxis is constantly improving the HFT that they're using. So there's things going on in the market that they have their ears to the railroad track, so to speak, if you will, based on like gold positions and where they think things are going to go. And of course, I use the word think, but these are professionals that have been doing this for many years. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. That's very different than saying, I'm just going to get a high frequency trading service and run it. And that's very different than even going and getting a bot. That's very different than even a bot. So you take the fact that even if you had access to the HFT, you have to have the professionals that know how to run it. Not anybody can just sit down and operate a console and run an HFT. It's just not, I mean, you could, but it's kind of like having a experienced driver in a Formula One race car versus I'm a brand new driver. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm going to get behind this race car. Very big difference, right? You have to have the driver with the experience behind the actual utility that's running it. So there's a very big difference. But, with a lot of these bots, I would ask, and it's kind of interesting, I just recently watched a video. Someone had posted it in our Discord of a guy who was testing out all these trading bots. He lost money on all of them. I think it was all of them, if not like 90% of them. He was just like screaming into his camera. And the thing is with a lot of these trading bots, it's like anybody running a business, right? I would ask the same sort of criteria with these trading bots. Do they have past performance history for years, or were they just built? How many years have they been running? Have they been through uptrends as well as downtrends? We call them bull versus bear markets. And how do they perform in those, right? Do they account for, and I shouldn't even say they, if you're running this, or if you have somebody running this, is the person running this, can they account for changes in the market, take advantage of potential swings in, say, Forex or crypto or equities or anything that you're trading, right? Gold, metals, commodities, all sorts of stuff. It's having the utility with past performance history with the professionals running it. That's the mix. That's the secret sauce. It's not just, I'm going to go build a trading bot using some service. I'm going to throw it out there and charge, a few bucks a month for a trading bot. Maybe some of those work, okay? I can't sit here and say I'm testing like all of these. I'm just trying to say, to me, there's a very big difference between having an amateur trading bot, okay? Maybe it's a good trading bot, okay? But even if it's a good trading bot, there's a difference between that and having the professionals running a high frequency trading service that costs millions to build, that has consoles and algorithms that are constantly being tweaked, that has years and years of past performance history, such as the HFT, the low risk algorithm that has 8 years of past performance history that trades gold futures and various things like that, okay? So that's a long answer to your question, but we just have to keep in mind professionals versus folks who see an opportunity in the market and they're using the word trading bot, I think, very loosely. And I think whereas before we saw catchphrases like DAO was a catchphrase for a period of time, passive income is always a catchphrase, but node was a catchphrase, RPC endpoint was a catchphrase. I think right now what we're going to see is trading bots is just another catchphrase. And it's one of those things where you have to let the ones that are bad just kind of fail and let the ones that are already good just rise to the top. So long answer to your question, but I hope that helps. Thanks for asking. All right, so Moneyman39, great name. He's asking, how long after the financial services release should we wait to see XETA marketing itself? It would be very shortly after. Now, I will also say when you see the roadmap, there are other projects in addition to the financial services, I'll word it to you that way, that will be marketed that will have an indirect marketing effect on XETA. Okay, if that makes sense. So yes, the goal is to, if you're going to do marketing, you have to have a fully fleshed out product. Now that means that if there are financial services available, like I know everybody's waiting for the HFT, and that's totally understandable, then you want to have something like that ready to go when you do marketing so that people see, well, I'll come when it's ready. And then you kind of waste marketing dollars and effort and energy and time and all this. So when you do the marketing, you want to have what you say being available, readily available, right? So with other projects that, again, will bring communities together, there's going to be a lot of marketing into that as well as just the services, okay? So it's projects, marketing projects. So if you kind of picture like a hub and spoke sort of, for the technical people, you know what I'm talking about. You have projects that are all powered by XETA, right? Powered by XETA, that will have their own marketing efforts that all link back to XETA. So it's not just the financial services that are going to be marketed. It's not just xetacapital, the zones, and this whole ecosystem. This is one ecosystem that will be marketed when the services are available, which what you're asking is when. It'll be fairly quickly, fairly soon after. But then there's also the projects that are powered by XETA, that are built by XETA, that feed back to XETA, that will also bring communities in that don't exist inside of this. Believe it or not, it's a small community. I know it doesn't seem that way, but this small community that indirectly market XETA as well. So it's a much larger shade of color as opposed to like black and white. You know, market or don't market. And if you do market, you're just marketing the services. There's that, but there's also marketing the projects that are being built by XETA as well. That's all going to feed back. It's all part of a master plan, I should say. But yes, to answer your question more specifically, right after the financial services, it'll be soon after. Good question. Thanks, Money Man. Appreciate it. Obscura83, a great member of our community, is asking, I don't want to claim my XETA till after 1 year for less tax obligations. The zone expires 1 year after creation. Will I lose my rewards? I'll say this. I do not recommend you wait a year to claim. You're going to have a problem. And the problem that you're going to run into is because there is a claim limit. If you wait 1 year, assuming you have more than 10 zones that you started with, you have to claim roughly 3 times a month. So that means even if you waited a year, you're going to have to claim 36 times just to get all your XETA. So I don't recommend you do that. It would take you more than a month just to claim every single day, right? So I don't suggest that you do that. What I would suggest is you could claim just before the end of the calendar year. It's not tax advice, I'm just saying. You could say, I'm going to build in October, right? And then you could claim sometime in 2023, like on January. You're still going to have to play catch up a little bit because you can only claim so much per day, right? So if you had 100 zones, you can only claim 100 a day, and you waited too long, then you'd have to claim consecutively for multiple days to catch up. But you could technically do something like that outside and inside of the calendar year rather than waiting a full 365 days, because that's where you're going to run into issues, and I would not recommend doing that because it'd take you far too long to catch up with the claims. So again, it's not tax advice, not financial advice, but I don't suggest that you wait a full year to claim your XETA. So hope that helps. Thanks for the question. So Wolfpack is asking, when will or what date will the accelerators come out? You're going to see that in the updated roadmap, by the way. So a lot of these updates, I shouldn't even call them updates, they're new features like accelerators or private equity, things like that. They do require dashboard updates. So it's more complicated than just saying, okay, here's the accelerators. It's having to make a lot of changes on the back end, number one, but then user interface changes on the front end with the dashboard. So it requires multiple things that have to fall in place, right? And that's why, for example, right now we're working on our audit, and I'm kind of, people are saying, well, why don't you just rush the audit? And I said, well, that's sort of like rushing eye surgery. I don't recommend you rush eye surgery. Audits and smart contract audits have to be done properly. So that has delayed things this week a little bit, but just for a few days. So you're going to see on the updated roadmap when the accelerators are coming out, we'll have updated dates for everything that has not come out yet, as well as some things we're working on. So wait till the end of this, and you will see the updated roadmap. It will share when accelerators and everything else comes out. But thanks for asking the question. So Dark Lord's asking, where can I see the wallet use for buybacks and pools? Is that available? Well, Yes and no. You can find the wallet for the pools. As far as the buybacks are concerned, like it's just not something that I'm going to share because, you know, you have to remember that there's people that want to manipulate things. Not you, but there are people that would love to manipulate things. They'd love to see, well, how much money do you really have for this, right? How heavy can you go in on this? And then they're going to manipulate it based on that. So I'm not going to show that. Just like I've had some people say, well, the team has said they have some sort of ceiling price in mind. What about the ceiling price? So I'm not going to share that either. And even if I did, it wouldn't matter because there are things outside of our control that the market controls, right? Ultimately, like I say, if I came and said I have a ceiling price and guess what? Some dude comes in with $500,000 buy order and 5x is the price, that's outside of my control, right? I can't control that. So there's only so much as a project you can control. There is a significant amount up to the free market, which is why I keep trying to tout responsible selling. I shouldn't even say responsible, but strategic selling, really, right? Strategic selling, guys. Rather than dumping a bunch of tokens all at one time, if you want to sell, take your profit, do it over time. Because number one, you're cheating yourself when you drop a lot of tokens. You're cheating yourself because if you drop a lot of tokens at one time, the price impact is such that you're dropping the price and then you're selling. So you're actually losing money by doing that, number one. And number two, the price goes right back up after that, then you didn't take advantage of dollar cost averaging out, number two. And number three, with the utility we have, which in my opinion is better than selling, is that if the price is low, your tokens are worth less than they would be when you deposit them, say, into the high frequency trading. If everybody is selling, they're dropping all these tokens and they're bringing the price down to $100, your tokens are worth less than they would be at 110 when you go to the high frequency trading. That's my point. So as a community, I would just say, let's work together for a common goal. And in my eyes, a common goal is let's help everybody get into these services at a higher price so that people have more value, right? And you know, as a protocol, it requires us to have to defend the price less, which means more funding for pools and more all sorts of stuff for you guys. So while I won't share the actual wallets, what I will say is I'm just going to point back to the strategic selling video. I'll probably make another one. Let's work together for the common good for the community so that we can be known as that community that works together to help reach a common goal rather than working against each other like every single community works against each other. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, please go to our YouTube channel, watch the video Strategic Selling. And now that literally the HFT is days away, just like literally a few days at this point, in my opinion, if it were me and I was one of the members of the community and I wasn't like a project founder, I'd be like, well, I mean, why would I sell if the HFT is days away? I mean, I don't want less value. I want more value to deposit. So I would just encourage that. Go check out that video and keep that in mind because it's kind of a mind shift a little bit. And I understand that because there is no project that says, hey, we're going to accept our own token, right? Because we make enough money to do that. Right? There is no project that does that. So this is like a new sort of mind shift, and I understand that, but it is something to keep in mind that when you drop a lot of tokens all at one time, you're doing a couple of things. Number one, you have fewer tokens to put into the service. That's the most obvious one. Number two, of the tokens you do have, you've dropped the value on yourself when you want to go use the services, as well as everybody else. So these are just some things to kindly keep in mind. And go back and please spend a little bit of time and watch that strategic selling video. I'm going to make a shorter one and an updated one as well for you guys. But great question. Thanks, Dark Lord, for asking it. Okay, guys. So a little house cleaning items just to discuss. So the Discord is going to be kind of changed a little bit. Not changed, but upgraded, I will say. It'll be a little bit more of an interactive environment. We'll be having some different channels and different updates on things and all that type of stuff. Please give the moderators a shout out and give JT a shout out. He's doing a phenomenal job. The moderators and the whole team is they're doing just above and beyond. Phenomenal job. So please tag them and let them know. Sometimes it's a thankless job, and I'm sure they would appreciate it. But we're going to be reorganizing the Discord just a little bit. It'll be more informative. So the Discord will, for example, be acting almost more like a website informational wise. A lot of times when you go check out a crypto project, you don't go to the website, you go to the Discord, right? So we're gonna have a lot more information about what Xeta Capital is inside the Discord itself. Okay, and also we'll have it just more interactive, more giveaways and I don't want to give a lot of it away, but contests and just ways for people to talk and interact with each other and engage with each other and just make it more lively. Okay, so that's just that. We are working on our audit. So I've mentioned this earlier. What is an audit? It's basically going through your smart contracts, looking for vulnerabilities and just improvements from a security standpoint. So we are finalizing that today. So that's where kind of a lot of this week has gone. And it's with, some people were asking, is it with third-party firm? Is it in-house? It's with a very, very, very reputable third-party auditing firm. As soon as that's finalized and finished, we'll let you guys know. We'll let you know who it is, all of that fun stuff. We'll give all of that out for you. Also, we discussed that at the end of each quarter, which we are coming up on pretty soon, we would be doing a financial audit. I know that that is already in the works right now and the quarter's not even done yet. So I know that that is already beginning at the moment as well. So let's see, now that the audit will be basically finished today, HFT is next. So we're talking literally just a few days for HFT, literally a few days. Okay, so yeah, and also it looks like a second blue chip pool is completely sold out. Okay, and that's very, very exciting as well. And we donated another $5,000 to James Project. That's a total of $15,000 now donated to James Project. And that's not even including the funds that we helped raise with the golf tournament. I think it was September 10th of last month in Springfield, Missouri. So, and with the $5,000 that was just donated, we're already like getting there as well. So please, if you want to support James Project, I would recommend look them up, jamesproject.org. Now here's what's cool. James Project had an anonymous donor step forward and say that they are going to match every dollar of donations up to the next 50,000. So technically our 5 was 10, technically, right? I mean, they got 10,000 total donations. So that's really, really cool. If you are looking to support a wonderful charity, this would be the great time to do it because they do have a donor that's matching up to $50,000. So this would be a wonderful time to get more value to them. They do a lot of great work for abused women and children. I did a whole interview with Tiffany. Please go check that out on our channel if you wouldn't mind. Thanks so much for helping support them. All right, guys, let's go over the September profits report. I'm going to zoom in here as well. Now, I do want to mention this isn't a aggregate report. So this is August and September. Now, the numbers are a little skewed. So let me explain. I shouldn't say skewed. The math is very challenging with this because of the fact that when you have positions have to be opened and then they have to be closed. Okay, when you close a position too early, you could theoretically lose money because positions can at any point in the day be up or down. And if all of a sudden you say, we got to pull profits right now, if it's down, you lose money. Okay, when positions are open, you need to give them time to mature. Okay, so anytime you're depositing and withdrawing cash and closing positions, you have money going in that could be compounding. And then you have money taken out that could be compounding. So the math gets really, really messed up. I'm just going to say that for lack of a better word. For example, if you were to put $75,000 into a high frequency trading pool with 75 zones, for example, and you were constantly depositing and withdrawing out throughout the month, it would be very challenging to know exactly what your your return was. What, like, did you make 20%, 30%, 40%? It's hard to know because you didn't really let the cash sit there for a full 30 days. Even if you were to add more without pulling out, it's still challenging because you don't know like the straight number, if that makes sense, okay? So there's a lot of math that has to be run on it. So anyway, let me just go ahead and zoom in here and I'll explain a little bit more. All right, and I'll post this, I'll make a whole blog about it, you know, just like I did last time. So don't worry about it. If you can't like see this, I know my big head is in the way and all that stuff. But we go through, for example, August. Now, there's another thing I want to mention here is that there are positions in August that sometimes carry over to the next month in September, right? So theoretically, some of August bleeds over into September, some of July bleeds over into August, and some of September bleeds over into October, because unless you're closing out the positions at the end of the month, what you had in a position at the end of September could very well make significant profit in the next month, you know, the second, third, fourth, fifth of the next month, okay? So it's never like 100% like this is exactly what you made in this month, okay? There's always some carryover, just gotta keep that in mind. So we look at August, and we look at September. You can see deposits, withdrawals. Actually, I know my head is kind of in the way. Let me see if I can shrink my head. I think I shrink my head a little bit here. There we go. Shrink my head a little bit. There we go. So you can see here what was deposited and what was withdrawn. So it's a, you know, it's a challenge to try to say, well, you put this in, you took this out. What compounded before you took it out? What were you able to compound with what you put in, but then you made a withdrawal right after? So it's all over the place. But we are looking at 56.11% across 2 months. So that's total, right? So that's, we had like a 29.77% in August. So that's, if my math is right, like a 26.5% for September on the high frequency trading, okay? Now, there's not much change with the private equity. There's not a big change here. The blue chip is up, by the way. It's actually up more than 4% because it was down 1%, if you recall, in August. So 4.25%. It's actually up 5.25% technically. And of course, the bonds, they just do their thing, right? They're pretty stable. They're very realistic. Let's talk about the HFT for a minute. So, it's 27%. So that's 56. It's over 56.11%. Not over. That is 56.11% in 2 months. The two most wildest months probably in traditional finance. Now, I know somebody personally that's down 20% on their Merrill Lynch account in September. They're not up 26.5%. They're down 20%, right? So we had a lot of action in the markets with the British pound. I think it hit like $1.04. Right? And it's back up, and then gold is, we have the euro. Actually, I think I charted the British pound and the euro are sitting at all-time lows, or at least they were when I was charting this just like, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, something like that, back in September. They were sitting at all-time lows, and many times they were sitting on 20-year lows, right? Wild action in the Forex market. Silver is down to back when I first started buying it a couple of years ago. When I first got into silver, I was like 17, 18, you know, dollars. I remember in 2020, around July 4, I bought, I don't even remember, I bought multiple ounces of silver at like $19 something. I thought, oh, I got in just under $20. Now it's never going to go back to below 20. And of course, it's back there now. So was gold as well. So this has been one of the wildest markets in traditional finance, especially in Forex. And I've been keeping an eye on it a lot like Axis because I'm kind of interested in how a lot of this is playing out myself. But, you know, the British pound came back up. Now it's volatile again. So whenever you have like a big sudden change in the market, especially even in high frequency trading, you can have a smaller gain or an initial loss, okay? In this case, we had a smaller gain when these Forexes crashed. After they crash, you make money on the way back up, number one. Number two, you make money on the volatility because traditional finance is not like crypto. if you're down 8% in a day, people are screaming on television. Like, that's not normal in traditional finance to be up and down that much in a single day. In crypto, 8% is like, doesn't even get us out of bed, right? It's just kind of funny how these markets work. That volatility in crypto allows you to be very profitable. That volatility in traditional finance is not common. So when it happens, there's significant opportunity. So the initial drop down can either lose money or you initially make a small amount, but as the volatility, because usually a big drop down means there's going to be either a big rise up, which is a significant profit for the HFT, or it means that there's a lot of volatility that's about to come, which is, again, significant profit for the HFT. And I can already tell you October has been significantly profitable, compared even to September. And we're only like literally, I think the last report I got was a few days ago into October. So 56% in 2 months. Now, you can run an average on what that would be, but that's like in the worst market and where everybody on TV is panicking. We're talking inflation and all this sorts of stuff. To make 56% in 2 months. I mean, even in crypto, which is supposed to be, I won't go on a tangent here, but it's supposed to be this democratized blockchain opportunity for the little guy, right? With what's going on with shorts and longs and futures and all this stuff, it's a little I shouldn't say it's a little, it's very manipulated right now. Even in crypto, very few people are making this unless you are a very, very skilled trader. Even skilled traders lose a lot of money, right? So to be able to have something like this come to the crypto space, to me, this is what I always wanted on the outside. I always say that because it's, my position is being in the community first, not being a project founder first. It's a very big difference. I think it gives an advantage of how to see this, right, from the community's point of view. This is something that I always wanted. And it's like, well, the people who have this, they're not going to bring this to the little guy because they're already making money. So being able to bring this in a way that gives us, the average everyday Joe, I'll just say, access is, I think, life-changing personally, okay? This is what the XETA Capital Fund's doing. And of course, again, so I would say, is there any crypto project, or is there any traditional finance instrument that any of you are in where you made 26% in September last month? Because, if you did, let me know. I'll go there. I'm tongue-in-cheek. So again, the bonds will just, again, they'll do their thing. The private equity is not changed a whole lot. I mean, from the last report, at least anyway. Private equity is a long-term hold, and you can even see here, no change. It's a longer-term hold. Even when the private equity comes out, that's a hodl. That's like folks buying XRP at 35 or 45 cents and waiting for $5, $10. Might take you 5 years, might take you 10 years. I have no idea. That's a little joke for the XRP folks with the suffering that they go through, myself included. But it's just more of a hodl mentality, right, with private equity. You want to hold this because if you go back and look at what a lot of private equity can do, you can negotiate private equity to private equity before it's actually public, right? And you can make a profit that way because oftentimes private equities are changing on their value based on reports, profitability, the market, all that kind of stuff. So sometimes people get in and out during the private equity stage and they never wait for the public stage. That's very possible too. I think the longer you wait with some of these, the greater potentially, that there is. Because if you think about, for example, let's go to the left here. I mean, if you think about a Stripe, Stripe does insane amounts of money in the payment processing space, right? Banks, especially banks that are crypto friendly, are going to be huge. Especially, the UK has got a little more crypto clarity than the United States, which is not hard to beat. So again, I expect those to do very well. Impossible Foods is something where a lot of people are moving towards, right? You have Discord. I mean, we're using Discord, right? I mean, look, we have a project like XETA that's changing DeFi that uses Discord as its main communication tool, right? And not just us. We're talking communities 10, 100 times, 1,000 times bigger than us, right? Using Discord. So I expect that to do phenomenally well as a lot of businesses grow and their communities engage, is big in the gaming space as well. So these are things that, in my opinion, you hold these long term, they're going to do exceptionally well, right? But yeah, again, blue chip, this is a key point. Here you had in August, it lost 1%. There's actually 0.99%. Now it's up 4.25%, which means it's like a over 5% gain in a single month, right? So again, I know HFT is the sexy, service that everybody wants to get into. Don't underestimate, number one, private equity, because I would actually argue that private equity can outperform the HFT in the long run. I would make that argument. And I would make the argument also, as I make my head bigger here, that the blue chip is a very safe, very low risk option, right? Now, does the HFT have high risk? Well, sure, it's got risk, right? That's why there's low, medium, and high risk algorithms inside of the HFT. Blue chip's pretty safe. I mean, it's a fairly low risk sort of place to park your XETA token. So again, I think having access to all three of these is actually what you really want to do, especially as we come out with more and more utility. It's just gonna, I think personally, it's gonna blow this space away. That's just it's always what I wanted. And I feel like it's something that you folks have wanted, to actually have utility, to use your tokens to get something greater than selling. And I've always said, what if selling was the last thing you wanted to do? What would that look like? Well, now you've got the blue chip, now you've got the Pangolin Super Farm, you got the liquidity pool and the super farm. You're soon going to have private equity. You have the HFT, we're literally days away at this point, a few days at most. You got the accelerators. You've got other stuff that you don't even know about yet. That to me is something to do with your token other than just, hey, get in, get out, get in, sell. There's more to this. There's shades of color as opposed to something just being black and white. Get in, get out. There's, wait a minute, I can make 100 different moves now that can be better than just getting out, right? So anyway, this is the profit report. I will say this, that up to this point, we've been giving monthly reports. We are going to move to quarterly reports. The reason is because most companies function on a quarterly basis. That's very common in business and traditional finance. Crypto is a little different. I mean, we have a different mindset sort of in crypto. We provided these first two on a monthly basis. Actually, in Discord, we were doing it on a weekly basis at a certain point, and I said, we have to back out a little bit into monthly. We're going to do it on a quarterly basis. Want to provide these first two because now that we're in October, we're on the quarter system. So now October, November, December can be shown in January. January, February, March can be shown in April. It's like a traditional company's quarterly, report, profit, loss, the fund, the investments, all that's very common. And it's sort of like when I was in e-commerce, I would launch a product sometimes, and within the first week, I would have, one or two people come and order 50 units, for example. Be like, oh my gosh, our conversion rate's 90%. This is a killer product. No, if you wait 30 days, all of a sudden you see, oh, it's actually 15%. We just had to give more time for the wins and the losses to accumulate to give a more clear picture. So these first two reports were mainly because of the fact that, we're still fairly new. I mean, I know it seems like we've been around for a while, but in crypto, in a business standpoint, we're still fairly new. So this is the first 2 month reports, and then we're going to be moving to a quarterly system. It'll make a lot more sense. And also it'll coincide with the financial audits as well, which, like I said, are already being worked on as we speak right now to prepare for the end of October. And speaking of the end of October, let's go ahead and dive into our roadmap and show you some fun things there. All right, so now the moment we've all been waiting for, well, one of the moments I should say, the updated 2022 roadmap. So let's just talk about this for a minute. First, we're gonna go over what we've already done. Then we're gonna tell you what we're gonna do. Then we'll come out and tell you when we do it. So in September 2022, XetaCapital launches the Friend Zone referral system. As you know, this allows you to share a link with people, and when 10 zones are built. Using that link, you are able to earn XREF, and that XREF is going to allow you to build a friend zone. A friend zone earns a little bit less than a regular zone, but it rewards you for sharing Zeta Capital with your loved ones. So we also have the blue chip service that launched literally last week, okay, October 2022. 2 pools as of right now have been completely sold out. There's 2 more left, so you might consider that, and actually those are selling out fairly quickly. I noticed once that other pool, the second one sold out, the third and fourth ones are selling out quickly, so you might consider that, especially after you see the profit report today. So then we also have the dashboard update, which there's more dashboard updates to come. So the private equity and the accelerators require some dashboard updates. You can't just implement it. There's some technical reasons for that I won't get into, so there's more updates to come. Of course, you know, we had the claim limit that was launched, and then of course, you know, we have the membership update, which allows you to be up to 28 days beyond your zone renewal due date and still accrue rewards. There's projects that literally went in, and the second, literally down to the second that you were late, they would rip your rewards away. They'd literally take it away. We paused them, but then we said, why don't we allow people to go at least 28 days over and still accrue? So I know there's some people that said, hey, you know, I was a couple days late and I came in, and because of this new update, like, I didn't lose anything, right? So I just think that's fair. I mean, it's all about what's fair ultimately. So what's underway? What do we got? We got high frequency trading. This is obviously in partnership with Gaxis. This is going to allow you to use the high frequency trading service that they use inside the Zeta Capital Fund, where you can deposit your Zeta and be able to put that into an HFT system that is very powerful. So we're looking at probably around a week for that. Okay, there's just some slight tweaks and changes that need to be made, but we're roughly about a week out. Okay, even though it does say late, it's technically would be late in another week from now. So let's keep looking. All right. So we have a couple of partnerships that we are going to announce right now. So we will be partnering with The Move. The Move is a digital marketplace. Now it says NFT market. That's because it's going to launch with an NFT line, okay, that they, as their partnership with us, just like our partnership with Gaxis, you know, Gaxis has a seat at the table with Zeta, vice versa as far as the utility is concerned. Same thing here. It's a partnership with The Move, which is a digital marketplace. Wait until you guys see the artwork behind this. Wait until you guys see what we have lined up with this. So let's just read it. How about I just read it? The Move. Introduction of The Move, a new digital marketplace powered by Zeta. Keep remembering that. Powered by Zeta. You're going to see that a lot. It's a boutique marketplace reserved for select NFT yield-bearing collections, crowdfunding, fractional investments, and much more. Powered by the Zeta Capital Fund High Frequency Trading Fund. And launching on The Move will be the Uncharted NFT collection. That's going to provide, obviously, a storyline behind the NFTs, of course, but it will provide real-world utility. They will be NFTs that do something. There's a project that tried to do this about a year ago, where they were the first ones that introduced NFTs that did something. These do something even better, okay? These actually do something that change your life, okay? Not just increase your rewards, for example, okay? And this is going to be a several line NFT project that is going to be tied into the high frequency trading. It will also be providing or I should say there will be a business to business component to this. There's a lot of projects out there with significant capital that want to come in and invest in Zeta. We've already had the conversations with many of them. The thing is that I always, and a team, always want to look to protect the community. So rather than having projects come in and just dump tokens constantly, how about we give a method that allows Zeta to win, allows zone holders to win, and allows the project to win. Everybody wins. So there will be, I won't get into specifics, there will be a business-to-business component inside of this, but there is going to be NFTs with real utility. Okay, and there will be an entire story behind it. This will be launching on The Move, which again is a partnership with XETA. And you're going to be hearing a lot more about this as far as who the team is, and how this is going to benefit Zeta, how this is going to bring in an entire new community. As I said earlier, the NFT community is massive. The passive income community is tiny. It's really, in comparison with the NFT community, it is like a grain of sand. It really is. So this is an opportunity to bring both of these worlds together in a way that benefits Zeta, zone holders, brings in an NFT community, and gives them something that's unique that the NFT space has not seen yet, and really allows us to put our foot stamp, so to speak, our footprint is the word I was thinking, into the NFT, and that really not even just NFT, the digital marketplace. Web3 is the future of the internet. I think most people would probably agree with that. And digital marketplaces are good digital marketplaces, I should say, are rare to come across, right? Especially well-designed digital marketplaces, right? Not just NFTs, guys. I mean, if you read this, we're talking NFTs, crowdfunding, fractional investments, on and on and on. Things that I can't even mention yet, but think about tying Web3 into many facets of life, right? Crowdfunding, we spoke about that, right? How about entertainment? Entertainment has not really been plugged into Web3, right? Nobody's done it very well, I'll put it that way. NFTs is like a sliver of what a digital marketplace can truly be. So anyway, this is something that's going to be launching in November. Now, the Uncharted project will be launching in late October, okay? I don't want to spill all the beans, but more details on that coming soon, okay? Very, very, very exciting, okay? A lot of stuff to share about that as time comes on. Accelerators are pushed out to November along with the private equity, okay? Why? Because there is a lot of design changes inside of the interface that has to happen for this to take place. Number one. Number two, I think I'd shared this, I don't even know, a few weeks back, that we had lost some time due to an individual being sick, like a critical person on the team that was very sick, and that pushed us back. And then our audit was basically, they set a deadline for today and it had to be done. So then it was kind of all hands on deck for the audit, because when it comes to smart contract audits, you have to make sure you do that right. Like I said, it's like eye surgery. You don't want to rush it. So that pushed us back a little bit. So the main focus right now is to get the HFT launch, which should be fairly soon. And then be able to make the changes in the dashboard and in the interface necessary to get the accelerators as well as the private equity launched. And these partnerships are just going to add an entire element, an entire on-ramp for a whole new audience into Zeta, right? That's going to benefit you guys being here early, by the way, massively, and bring an entire flavor that has not been to a passive income project so far, okay? Especially since we have real utility, we should push that utility, right? And we should let people know about the utility we have, because, there's projects that at some point they get hot, and others that are, we'll kind of wait and see, right? And when the utility, people find out is real, now we want to say, hey, there's a lot of communities out there, and there's a lot of communities that are not in the passive income space. that could significantly really benefit from utility like what Zeta Capital has to offer. So it's a different mechanism, not just for different communities, but also for other businesses, as far as projects, crypto projects, things like that. So it's very exciting. And this is not even the first layer that I'm really touching on. There's way more to this that I don't even want to get into just yet, but we'll spill a little bit of details as we go along, because we're not very far off from it, as you can see here as well. So we'll go ahead and we'll post the roadmap. And of course, I'll do a whole write-up on it and all of this, but it's very exciting. There's a lot of things that are being worked on behind the scenes, guys, to take Zeta Capital from not just a circular reward project with real utility that you can really do something with real professionals who make real money for real people, but we're thinking even beyond that. So again, the question had come up like, what's the plan for world dominance? Well, there's a plan for world dominance. Don't worry about that. It's taken Zeta Capital to that next level that, while we see this market dying, while we see cryptocurrency and many economic financial markets crash, including a lot of these passive income projects, we're thinking way beyond just the system that we're in right now, which, by the way, is still going to continue to grow. We're going to take Zeta Capital to the next level, and this is how we're going to do it. Thanks, guys, so much for tuning in. This was not the longest AMA we've done, actually, believe it or not. But, we got to 10 different questions. We discussed kind of a brief update on where we are with audits and HFTs and donations to charity and the whole roadmap and the September profit report and the plan moving forward for that and the Discord, just a lot of different stuff. So I want to thank you so much for tuning in. It's a lot to absorb, but go ahead and feel free to go back through the chapters and, kind of digest it. Watch it a couple times if you could. It's always helpful. And of course, go ahead and check out xetacapital.com. If you wouldn't mind, if you're not part of the Discord, I highly recommend that you join the Discord. And to find it, scroll to the very bottom and click this little button that says follow us on. You'll see Twitter on the right and Discord on the left. Please go ahead and click that. Join our Discord. It's a community of almost 1,000 people now. We're getting up there, of like-minded community members in Zeta Capital who are asking questions, who are just engaging and chatting and talking. It's where the updates will be posted first. So if you want the latest updates of what's going on in Zeta, you want to be in the Discord. That's really like the main place, right? That's where you're going to get all of the content first, all the information first, the updates, and then later, a day or two later, it'll be pushed out to Twitter, and then later it'll be pushed out to the website blog. So you want to be in that Discord to get the latest updates as soon as they're available. Thanks so much for tuning in. We have a very grand vision, a big vision, a huge vision for what Zeta Capital can be. We know what it can be, the team, and that's why we are so excited about what it is we're building, not just because of the market that we're in and the need for it, but because, there's been so many failed projects. There's been so many missed opportunities, failed promises in terms of what can be done, how they can help the community, what they can accomplish. And it just seems to be a point where where we just accept failure in the community, and we accept projects that just don't end up going anywhere. They make a lot of promises and they overpromise, they underdeliver. We see what this can truly be, right? Because of the team, because of the partnerships, because of the community, right? And we say that rather than just accepting failure and expecting projects to not work out, let's accept nothing but success, and let's expect and know that Zeta is going to work out. That's the way we look at it. And, I hope that this vision with the roadmap and with everywhere we're going helps you see just a very, very small sliver of where we're going and the big plans that we have for Zeta Capital. Thanks so much for tuning in. Take care, and until next time, God bless.